Volcanoes, hurricanes, earthquakes. These are just some of the major events going on all over the world right now, affecting not just the United States, but the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Specifically in the last 15 hours, eruptions taking place all throughout the night, overnight, into right now as we speak in La Palma on the Canary Islands off the coast of Western Africa. And the wealth is being spread. Take a look at the Pacific Ring of Fire, the massive ring that houses most of our volcanoes and most of our seismic activity when it comes to major earthquakes. South America and Chile getting slammed with a bunch of big quakes. In fact, taking the biggest one in the set we have right now, the Kuril Islands, Russia, Tokyo, Japan, the entire northwest quadrant of the Pacific getting slammed as well with the second highest amount of quakes. And yes, we got Mr. Pete Rose in the Atlantic Ocean. That is obviously Tropical Storm Peter and Tropical Storm Rose coexisting as we said they would. We knew this was coming. We also have the possibility of a rename or a 2.0 version of a storm we just saw, with just 4 names remaining in our 2021 Atlantic hurricane season list. And we're going to give you the latest on the possibility of a mega tsunami coming off the west coast of Africa. We'll talk about that right now. Here we go. Good late morning, early afternoon, my friends. It is 11:01 a.m., September 21st, 2021, and we are checking out the Atlantic Ocean first really quick. We got a lot to go through, and it's all very important. We're going to start right here with Peter and Rose, our 2 tropical storms coexisting in the Atlantic Ocean right now. For the last couple days, we've spoke on both of these and what's coming after. We may see the remnants of Odette reform into a second version of that tropical cyclone. We're monitoring that area right here, 40% chance of cyclone formation in 5 days. And I'll show you how this is Odette. This is still the remnants that were running up the East Coast a few days ago. We clearly have Peter deciding whether or not it's going to continue strengthening and take a Larry move up towards the northeast, and that will not be the last storm that does that. And then we have Tropical Storm Rose, which formed recently, 45 miles an hour, 1,006 millibars in pressure, moving pretty quickly, 20 miles an hour in a northwest direction. Last but not least, a 90% chance of cyclone formation. This one is pretty interesting. Most of the major charts show this becoming a major storm in Sam and putting a real threat on the Leeward Lesser Antilles Islands, and yet another situation where it looks like an East Coast storm may take place, or at least the East Coast track we've been seeing all season long. Really quickly, I'm going to play each of these 3 models for you, the European model, the GFS, and the CMC, just to give you an idea of what to expect in the very near future. We use the average of all these models. Sometimes one is more correct than the other, but nonetheless, you're seeing a theme here, a major storm forming towards the warm water belt, Western Africa, all the way to the United States, with a lot of stuff in between. Right after I go over these, I'm going to talk to you about the situation in La Palma. We're going to stick to the Atlantic Ocean, but right now we're here on the GFS version. We're going to go through each of these models to show you what Peter and Rose do, and then what to expect with the remnants of Odette we could see right here, and the next storm on the list, which is a 90% chance, which could very well be Sam. So here we go. As we move through this, the GFS is actually showing Peter and Rose both kind of fizzling out, not being a major issue. Keep in mind, we have the high Bermuda pressure broken into 2 pieces right here, with Odette in the middle. This same situation happened with Claudette, very funny with the ending of those names, where it reformed into a 2.0 version of itself. As we move into the 23rd and the 24th, we see that not only has Pete and Rose disappeared, but Odette is still very much alive. So very, very interesting situation. And now the formation of Sam down here as we move into September 25th. And then, as we said before, we see this turning into a fairly significant storm. Will it be a fish storm? We don't know yet. A lot can change, but it's following a common theme we're seeing this year with Larry and Henry. Multiple storms riding right up the East Coast, more than we've seen in a long time. It's almost been the tale of 2 seasons with this hurricane season here. As you can see on the screen, with the amount of storms that have hit the Gulf in the last 2 seasons, we're now starting to see that number rise on the East Coast. We are now looking at the Canadian model, which also shows Peter and Rose both existing. Odette sitting right here as a giant mess. Still stronger, though, if you look at it, than Peter and Rose. Very interesting situation. As we move into the 21st and 22nd, we see similar outcomes with Peter and Rose as we saw with the GFS, but Peter lives a bit longer, just sitting outside the Bahamas in the southeast quadrant of the United States, almost as a fish storm, as Sam, Rose already having left, makes its way along the warm water belt, as we saw in the GFS as well, towards the Leeward and Lesser Antilles Islands, and then becoming a very significant storm as we approach the northern end of Puerto Rico. This is October 1st, so 9 to 10 10 days away. Of course, plenty can change, but the fact that we're still seeing the formation of not only Sam, but 2 to 3 other named storms behind that, all within the next 9 days, is showing that the Atlantic Ocean and the potential of cyclones is going to go through the end of the season, November 30th. Last but not least, we have the European model set up here, and once again, we have Odette very much still alive. And just so you guys can see that I'm talking about Odette, we could see here back on September 18th, Odette was still right off the eastern coast of the United States. And as we move farther now, we can see that that in fact is Odette, that this disturbance right here is representing. So we have the 40% chance, and then as you can see here, that is clearly Odette potentially reforming. So finally, here we go. Peter and Rose, once again, all three models agreeing that Peter and Rose are going to stick around for a little bit, but not too long, only to make room for Tropical Storm / Hurricane Sam. And here on the European model, they also agree that this will track all the way along the warm water belt, this time clipping the Leeward, Lesser Antilles, Northern Islands, and Puerto Rico. And that is the last frame we get for October 1st. So very interesting information. 2 more low pressure systems about to form behind it. Again, 9 days away, plenty can change, but the fact that we're seeing this is what's important. And the reason I want to put a lot of emphasis on Invest 98L, which this is, so Invest 98L is getting a lot of emphasis because of this. Here is the latest data and pressure for this storm. The spaghetti plot showing a clear-cut shot along the warm water belt as we described, getting stronger along the way. Very consistent with the plots, all of these staying within the area of extremely warm water. And during that trip, our model intensity guidance chart is showing a major hurricane potential with the HWFI plot moving into a Category 3 range. Now, we know this happens with these long-term storms. We know it happens this time of year, but we also know there's a lot of time between 0 and the next 96 hours, but we're going to be watching every second of it. It is almost safe to say we're going to get through those last 4 names on our 2021 list. Not something you see every single season. It's been more of a theme as we move into the early 2020s, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. I'll keep you all posted on that. We need to move on to the seismic activity and the significance of it worldwide at this point, and this is very much going to tie into the La Palma volcano situation and the potential for that mega tsunami. That is very real, my friends. I want to be very clear on that. There's a lot of going back and forth on the internet about what should be said about this, and the fact is that this is a very possible situation, and the fact that it's been nearly 40 years or longer since the last eruption, this is a very significant situation that should be covered. In fact, all we're seeing right now are the updates on this situation and how it's destroying homes, more and more people being evacuated, and the amount of fissures, earthquakes, and lava flow is rising, not lowering. For some reason, we do not get any sort of readings or earthquake seismic data from the USGS when it comes to this part of the world. I'm still not sure why, with the amount of people all over the world covering this situation, and the fact that it's been since the 1970s that we had any sort of eruption off this island. 18 hours ago, a 3.8 earthquake taking place, plenty since then, but that's one of the bigger ones. And now we can't forget about the 6.0 plus, actually the 6.4 earthquakes that are taking place in Chile. That is the Ring of Fire section of the world. We are in the Atlantic Ocean near the Canary Islands, and we are talking about the La Palma Island right here, and its massive caldera that is putting many people in a tough spot, trying to evacuate off this island before something horrible happens. Major eruptions going on, major seismic activity, and because of the history and the science of this island and the fear of a mega tsunami, the basic gist of this story is there's a big giant piece of land that is feared to break off here during a giant eruption that will be the cause of that wave. So it's been talked about in documentaries and different videos over the years, especially around the 70s when this thing actually erupted last, and they were hoping that this was kind of just a steam release or just a small pressure release to then move on and go back dormant in a way, but it's a lot more active than they thought, and in fact it's actually battling that 70s eruption and in turn causing those evacuations. And now we're learning of many homes being destroyed by a wall of lava. I'm going to read this for you very quickly, and I'm going to leave you source links so you guys can keep updated on this situation. Lava gushing from the Canary Islands' first volcanic eruption on land in 50 years has forced authorities to evacuate another part of El Paso municipality on the island of La Palma. People from the neighborhood of this place were evacuated late Monday and early Tuesday after a new stream of lava started flowing from another crack on the slope of the Cumbre Viejo volcano. So that's a whole separate volcano, my friends. So there's multiple volcanoes in this chain, multiple situations taking place. And this is crazy. This is what reminds me of hurricane season. Around 6,000 of the 80,000 people living on the island have been forced to leave their homes to escape the eruption so far. There have been no reports of fatalities, which is a good thing. That wall of lava is absolutely insane to see. I'm doing my best here to find pictures that correctly show the situation, and this one I believe is out of La Palma. Credit to MCE Zone. And this has been a fairly common image people have seen with the flow of lava. That has been the big story since just the day before yesterday, where this image was all over the internet. As you can see here, with over 20,000 tremors in the last 3 to 4 days, probably even more, it's really beginning to annoy people or wonder why we don't see any of these seismic events taking place on the USGS. Absolutely blank, not a single shake, but yet we go to other earthquake websites and right away we see every single little shake going on there, continuing through today and as we speak. I'm going to continue bringing the latest information on the La Palma volcano and its possible effects on the Atlantic Ocean via a mega tsunami. I know that's a crazy word, but it's a real thing and could pose a real threat to multiple continents, not just the United States, but millions of other people. Better to be safe than sorry. My friends, I want to thank you so much for continuing to watch this content. I will be back later on today or tomorrow with another update. Any questions or concerns, please leave down in the comments section. Shout out to Canada. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.